There's three different types of pizza restaurants, and these are what they are. And only one of them is any fun. Now, when I got into the pizza business, I knew that I couldn't outspend Pizza Hut. I couldn't outspend Domino's, so I had to do some different things if I was going to be successful and make some money in the business. So rather than even try to outspend them, I thought what I need to do is I need to attack them in their weak spot. And what their weak spot is, and what many people's weak spot is, they don't know how to build a relationship with the customer. They continually advertise to them. They never talk to them. I'm going to show you some before and after examples, and I'm going to show you exactly how we achieve these results when we wrap up tomorrow. But for example, this is a 31-day improvement at a pizzeria in Las Vegas that I've done some work with. 13,000 in 1 month, we're up to 27,000 the next month. Anybody here want to make an extra 10 grand a year by handling your phone calls a little differently? It's easy. I'm going to show you how to slip your upselling through the filtering system in the human mind, make upselling easy for you. But anyway, this is $10,000 extra dollars just selling extra cheese. 2 ways to make more money. One of them, you can work more hours. Anybody want to do that? Show of hands. You want to cut back to half days? Like 12 hours, right? Okay. The other is leverage. Now, folks, the leverage you have built up in your own business right now is more explosive, more powerful than stocks, bonds, real estate, you name it. In your own business, you're able, through marketing, to spend $1 and have it bring back nothing, or have it bring back $10. Now, unless you're gambling in the futures market, you can't get returns like that anywhere else. Now, let's talk about it for a second and go through a little exercise here. It costs you the same fixed cost to put out a flyer, letterbox, drop, whatever you call them, whether it brings in 1 response, 10 responses, or 110 responses, okay? It costs you the same to put out a mailer, whether you get a 0.5% response, a 2% response, or a 4% response. Your fixed cost stays the same. The only variable is what it does for you, if it does its job or not. It costs you the same to have an employee answer the phone, whether they get a $12 ticket, a $14 ticket, or a $16 ticket, doesn't it? They don't get paid any less when they don't perform, do they? Mine didn't. It costs you the same to acquire a customer, whether that customer purchases once and never returns again, whether they buy 10 times a year, whether they buy 20 times a year. But the difference, folks, from a leverage standpoint is going to blow your mind. The minimum that we would have experienced if we would have got 1 response from a flyer, a 0.5% response from a mailer, a $12 ticket, and a customer buying, let's say, 10 times a year instead of 20, $6,120. I would call that, let's say, a minimum outcome of the 2 exercises we just talked about. Anybody care to take a guess what the maximum is? Nobody? Come on. Robbie, what is it? Well, Robbie, you got to think big. If you got 110 responses, if you got a 4% response to your mailer, if you got a $16 ticket instead of 12, if you had customers that bought 20 times a year instead of 10, what you're gonna be seeing. That is the difference between a minimum outcome and shooting for the maximum outcome. A minimum outcome of 6,000, a maximum of 163. Where's the smoke and mirrors on that one? There aren't any. That's what you're going to get when you have the same fixed cost and your advertising is pulling, instead of 2%, it's getting 4. Instead of getting 1 or 2 customers from something, you're getting 100, which you can do. The small change we're making is not a financial change. The small change that we're making is the words, phrases, and pictures that we use in our ads. There's nothing else. Those 3 things. Okay, here's the increase that we're talking about, the minimum over the maximum, is over 2,500%. And I want to, I'm going to read you an email that I got from Tom Pike. Now, this guy's in a small little town in Ohio, or excuse me, in Pittsburgh. Now, Tom got the Black Book and he put out an ad. His first ad, he sends me this letter. We ran out of wings and pizza dough last night about 2 hours before closing, so I had to extend the offer until this Saturday. I was in Pittsburgh at 8 a.m., picked up dough, cheese, and sauce to last till tomorrow when our regular delivery is scheduled. It's been a hell of a ride and more of a learning experience. We will have about a 23% return on the mailing. I don't know, anybody seen one of those before, 23% return? Okay, Tom was used to 2% return. Would anybody walk down the street right now and see a house and go, wow, that's kind of a neat house, I want to buy that? And would you go knock on the door and say, I love your house, here's a check, I've made it out to you and I've signed it, and I've left the amount blank. You just put in whatever amount works for you. No? Okay. A lot of us do that all day long when we're trying to acquire customers. We, first of all, don't know what the customer is worth to our business. You may or may not know, but it is so critical moving forward that you know what a customer is worth to your business. So we're going to go through a little exercise here in a minute, figure it out. The most alarming question I ever get asked, it scares me. Somebody call up, Kamron, how much should I budget for marketing? 5%? 6%, 7%. And I'll ask him, well, I'll tell you what, how's your marketing doing? Now let's take the guy that called me and he was excited because he's spending $1,000 and now getting $600, he's only losing $400. Please stop altogether, okay? Just put that $400 in your pocket, quit wasting your money. On the other hand, if your marketing is really good, why do you want to limit yourself? Why just annoy a competitor when you can get a vice grip on them? Let's figure out what a customer's worth. Now what we want to do is you tell me what your average ticket is. I don't know, and it's going to be different store to store. For my example, I'm going to use $15. Now I know, again, American dollars, all that, but you put down, and you must know this, you have point of sale systems, what is your average ticket? How many times does a customer purchase a year? And the way I figured that out was just, you know, you can go even 3 months and figure out, you know, you pull your customer database up, how many purchases, and do the math and figure out how often each one on average is buying from you. Use the government has what they call the swag method. It's the super wild ass guess if you don't have the numbers handy. And then I always want to subtract my food costs. Now here's what I do too. Average ticket, I want to figure low, not high. I don't want to kid myself. Purchases a year, I want to figure low, not high. On food cost, I just as soon cover my butt on that one and figure maybe a little high instead of low. Let's just be pleasantly surprised, but let's use some realistic numbers. And so anyway, pretty much going to look like this. Is this particular customer is worth $202.50 a year after you pull food cost out. Take a 5-year lifespan. Now you're looking at a $1,000+ asset. Now I know how much I can spend to acquire a customer. I'm not going to spend $1,000, but I'm not going to give up after spending 10. Moving parade, this is a concept Jay Abraham has kind of pioneered, and I want to bring it up for you. But we all know this. We just, Bill just said 15, 20%. I mean, we're in our shops all day, and what do we know? We know that we got to mess with the employees, we got to make dough, we got to take care of business. What's going on around us is this big swirl of activity. People are moving in, people are moving out. Some people are not buying pizza anymore. Some people, their 3 kids are just turning into teenagers. They're going to be buying more pizza. So the concept of the moving parade is something you've got to understand. Again, this goes back to what I said earlier about marketing all the time is actually cheaper than marketing occasionally, and this is why. You got to imagine that you can't believe your luck. There's your pizza shop right there, and you've got this huge parade coming by your shop right now. And Robbie, what's your best employee's name? Laura. Okay, Lauren or? Laura. Laura, okay. Robbie's back there and he goes, Laura, have you looked out the front door? There's a bunch of people out there. Run back, and I don't mean this how it sounds, blow the dust off those flyers, okay, and hand one to everybody outside the shop. Laura runs out there, Robbie's inside, man, he's getting some pizzas ready, and sure enough, people start coming in. The lobby's full. Robbie's back there knocking out the pizzas, and he's screaming, Laura, get in here. We're busy. I need help. Knocking out the pizzas like crazy, right? Cash register singing, life's euphoric. We're taking a vacation, buying a new car. Ain't things great? Oops. Laura came inside, Robbie's inside, and they missed the rest of the parade. Okay? They did a little 10-minute marketing thing, got all excited, and then got a little too busy, and the parade just passed them right on by. So I just want to give you that visual. That's what we're looking at, is why if you're marketing constantly, you have a good shot at getting in front of almost 100% of the people that are traveling through your trade area, moving in, kids growing up, ordering more pizza. Please be advised and be aware that your competitors are siphoning off potential customers that you could have had, and that in a month or 6 weeks, when you notice your sales are slipping a little bit and you start to have a crisis, you've caused it. And one thing I like to compare marketing to, though, is the gas, phones, and electricity. Should we shut those off on Friday night to save a few bucks? No. But we'll cut back on our marketing. I can't afford it. Well, you can't afford to do bad marketing. You cannot afford to do terrific marketing that is putting a squeeze on your competition. They have Wrigley gum over here? Okay. William Wrigley, in 1903, was on a train with his accountant heading west. And Wrigley's accountant asked him, he said, William, you've got the #1 selling gum in the country, and you keep spending the same amount of money on marketing. If you'd back off the marketing a little bit, we could drop a little more money to the bottom line. William Wrigley asked his accountant to look out the window, and he said, how fast do you think this train is going? The accountant said, I don't know, about 60 miles an hour. And William Wrigley said, what do you think? Should we disconnect the engine? We're familiar with that term, some of us? Unique selling proposition? If I had the chance, I would like to sit down with each and every one of you by yourself, away from everybody, over a cup of coffee, and just pose the question to you. What is it that makes your store stand out in the eyes of your customers? And I'll bet I would get 30 or 40 different answers. There might be some reasons for that, but the main reason would be that a lot of you have never taken the time to really sit down and figure out, what is it about my business that my competitor doesn't do? What is it about my business that they won't do? What is it about my business that they do but they haven't told anybody? What can I take ownership of in my customer's eyes? Now, a unique selling proposition is that certain something that you want to stay in harmony with the expectations of the marketplace. You know, you're not just going to come up with some slogan like, let's say that we all owned different competing pizza stores, and I were to ask you, who makes a really good pizza? Everybody would raise their hands, right? So would that be effective if everybody put that on their front door? Not at all. We make a really good pizza. Well, that's what the guy down the street does too, and this guy over here. So the only advantage that you're going to have is, since everybody makes a really good pizza, is who's the closest guy to me, and maybe who's got the lowest price, depending on what I'm looking for. Earlier I said that it's going to help you if you advertise your pizza and your pizza only. Many people simply advertise the pizza category. Their advertising is so bad that all it does is has a picture of a pizza, a couple prices on it, and the people that they're sending the advertising out to don't know anything about the shop. So one of your competitors sends out some rotten advertising, your phones may ring. If you send out rotten advertising, Pizza Hut's phones might ring, because you've just simply tweaked them. Oh yeah, let's get some pizza tonight. But nothing comes to mind when they think of you. You've got to understand that your customers are focused and obsessed with what's in it for them. They don't care about you at all. They want to know what you're going to do for them. Okay? They don't care that you put in 18 hours. They don't care that you've been making dough all day. They just want to know what you're going to do for them. Until you can clearly explain to your customers why they should be buying pizza from you, you're just going to be another name in the phone book. You guys may do it. A lot of people that I talk to do this. We make dough fresh every day. So what? What I tell people, or what I did tell people, is, you know, we make dough quite regularly too, but you know, we can't use it for 3 to 5 days. Our dough is like a fine wine. It takes time to develop a full-bodied flavor. It takes time for the yeast to interact with the sugars and to create that flavor. Now I have better tasting dough than the guys that are screaming dough made fresh daily. Don't I? Because I've explained, first of all, I've taken their advantage of making it every day. Well, so did we. But since it's so lame and means nothing, I went on to expand the story that yes, we make it, but here, we can't serve it that, the same day like the others do. Here's why. Here's another one. I mean, sauce made daily takes time, like a fine wine, for those seasonings to bloom in the sauce. And we heat that sauce over a fire for hours. And when it's just right, we put the lid on and we set it aside and we let that flavor marinate. And that sauce, it'll roll your eyes up. It's so good. These are different things that you could take ownership of, but again, keep in mind the USP, unique selling proposition, has to be in tune with what your customers already perceive of you. It's easier just to take what the marketplace is already expecting and hand it to them on a silver platter instead of trying to reposition. Best pizza in town, this one always just made me laugh. And it ended up being my USP. But I just put some teeth in it. The best pizza you've ever had, or your money back. That's what I went with. But best pizza in town just laying there all by itself means nothing to anybody. So again, those are not what I would call good unique selling propositions. These guys, now Domino's, when they came out, and this was back when they started doing delivery in the 70s, they redefined the business. But you know what? Lots of people were delivering pizza. Lots of people were delivering it free. Domino's told them that they did it and were the first ones to do it. And it launched a company that sold for over $1 billion recently. FedEx. Again, I'm just trying to hand you some of the big time unique selling propositions so you have an idea, but this was an accident. the thing that the actor was going to say is when it has to be there overnight. And the actor ad-libbed the rest of it in there. And they liked it, and they went with it, and it launched the company. Lots of people delivered packages overnight. Name them. These guys, if they didn't put it on everything, I don't know they'd have got off the ground with that. But it is on, it permeates everything they do. Better ingredients, but you know what? The beauty of this, though, is it just leads into the next thing. Better ingredients, better pizza. Well, that's a logical connection in the mind. Oh, okay, better ingredients, better pizza. I've had seemingly intelligent people tell me that Papa John's has better ingredients and better pizza, and I've pressed them a little further, and they've never had one. That's how powerful this has become for them. It's on everything. Every commercial, every flyer, every box, everything. Okay, unique. Let's talk about Domino's for a second. Back then, 30-minute delivery was kind of unique. The proposition is that, first of all, the unique part is that, we'll deliver it to your home. The proposition was we will do it within 30 minutes, and they backed it up with a guarantee. I love USPs that have a guarantee in them because it tends to just make it seem solid. I mean, how could you say that you guarantee it if you're not going to do it? So anyway, every instance, and again, I would love to sit down with you, and a USP is something that's very powerful that you need to convey this. Now, like I said, again, it's the benefits that people are looking for. So your USP has to be something that's focused on the customer, not on you. And where I've seen, extrapolating a USP through a company would be, instead of, we put cheat sheets up on the wall that had the, the order of toppings that went on our pizzas and the sauces and the different things. So any cook could come in within a couple of days. If he knew how much sauce to put on and kind of how much toppings, he could just look up and know the order that everything went on. But what I'm going to give you an idea is how a USP needs to permeate a company like it does with Papa John's. It dawned on me after a while, a couple years, my cheat sheet said ham, pineapple, sausage, marinara. And what I would find is that even the people up taking the phone orders, when somebody would ask them, well, what does that pizza come with? Ham, pineapple, marinara. I realized I was missing something. I changed the cheat sheets. It was honey-baked ham, hand-cut pineapple. Gulf prawns. I changed it all. Now my lingo coming out of the store, I didn't care if my cook is at a gas station. When somebody asks him about the pizzas there, what's he going to be saying? Oh yeah, they have Gulf prawns and honey-baked ham. And so that's the message that was getting out from there on after. I had a point-of-sale system that hit a little thing and description of the pizza would come up. I changed all of those too. So my phone people were never again saying ham, pineapple, and marinara. Juicy descriptions that would tend to sell the product for me. USP, boy, I tell you, being first is critical, whatever it is. Who was the second guy to fly the Atlantic? Who's the third? Why is she so famous? Because she was a woman. She was the first woman to fly the Atlantic. Charles Lindbergh was the first man to fly the Atlantic, and Burt Hinkler is a footnote in history. When you develop a unique selling proposition, it is key that you get it out there before somebody else, just like Domino's did, like FedEx did. Find out what your marketplace wants, compact that into a concise statement, and hand it back to them, just like a mirror. They look in it and they like what they see. Now, USP, what I typically tell the folks at my seminars, because I will have a lot of different people from a lot of different states all over the country, I tell them that you don't need the next Domino's USP, you don't need the next Papa John's, you don't need the next FedEx, but you need something that distinguishes you from your competitors in your trade area. That's different here because your trade area is the whole country. So you guys need to have a focused, unique selling proposition that resonates with your existing customers. I think you know, you gotta slap yourself in the face and throw a bucket of ice water on yourself and realize that what you really are is a unique, one-of-a-kind company that works your tail off to provide a unique and valuable product for your customers. Because once you realize that that's what you're doing instead of just slapping dough together and putting marinara on it, a little cheese and some toppings, you will elevate your impression of yourself in not only your eyes, but in your customers' eyes. You need to realize that you're not just a guy down here making pizzas. You are benefiting people's lives. They can dial the phone up and they can either pick up or have a pizza delivered to their home that tastes great, satisfies their family, has been baked with tender, loving care for them. You need to convey that to your customers. I've found that people will never think more of you than you think of yourself. All right, folks. Again, I think, you know, we got to know that marketing is the key to our business. Our upside leverage is pretty wild. We've seen that. You've got to know the lifetime value of your customer before you spend a nickel of your money trying to acquire them. You've got to know what they're worth, and you've got to get a feel for what it's costing to bring them in the front door. If you market frequently, you have first crack at more of these customers. Anybody new, do you guys do a new move-in program? New move-ins?
Some.
Okay. Okay. It's you know, when somebody's just moved into an area, they're you know, they're kind of good turf for you guys to explore. They need to get hooked up with a bank. They need to get hooked up with a pizza place. They need to get hooked up. So back in the States, a friend of mine runs a company there. It's called Moving Targets, and they get lists of the new people that have moved into an area. He mails those letters out, gives them a certificate to come in and get a pizza. If we have a unique selling proposition that we own, that's ours alone, it's really the equivalent of being in a dark room and shining a spotlight on yourself. It's like being the girl in hot pants running around with all those zombies. You stand out. You stand for something. People when they think of Pizza Haven, immediately will either think of, like with Domino's, you know, the 30-minute delivery or better pizza. Whatever you guys develop, you know, you got to put it on everything and drive that message home. Anybody have anything they want to go over with what we've talked about? We've talked about the leverage. We've talked about unique selling proposition, lifetime value of your customers. Is there anything else that we need to cover today? Because tomorrow we're going to get into some very fast-paced stuff, and I just want to make sure that you guys kind of understand these concepts. Tomorrow we're starting off with the brain, how it works, and then we're going to go right into specific, vivid details on the advertising, the upselling, and take you right through to a home run. So if everybody's clear, and I've made myself as clear as possible today, I'll get off the stage and let things move on. So. Okay, thank you.